So, yeah, tsar is calculated by what would you pay to avoid this kind of pain, right? Ripui, doctor's bills, healing, literally. Baishes is very variable. The Gemara has fixed things for different kind of humiliating assaults. And, I think that's me. Yeah, that's me. That's not good. Okay, I forgot about that. We're new at this, so please, everyone, put your cell phone on vibrate. You have a cell phone. So, sheves is lost wages. Those are the 5 maximum things that a person could. Okay, so now I want to put a question on the floor. If we know that assaulting another person is covered by 2 different mitzvahs in the Torah, there's a mitzvah that appears in Parashat Mishpatim about how Bezin adjudicates it and assesses payments, and then there's a mitzvah in Parashat Kiseitze that says you're not allowed to, the criminal aspect, the sin, the avera aspect of it, you can't strike another person. But beferish ribs the Torah chayvel l'tashlumin. Every chayvel, every assault requires payment. Is there ever a permutation? Could there ever be a case where, when you assault another person, you would get malchus? You'd be liable to criminal punishment. Well, that's impossible.
One more time, the question is if...
There are 2 separate mitzvahs in the Torah. Right? One says don't hit another person, right, like don't eat chazer, don't wear shatnez. And one is the mitzvah of how does Bezin adjudicate after the fact, when 2 people fight, right? And damages have to be assessed. There is a monetary end to this fight. The mitzvah is for Bezin to adjudicate it properly and make sure that the offended party gets paid as they should. Okay? Now, you in cases like that, you can never Bezdin is not empowered to punish the criminal twice. Right? Right? Normally, you get the more severe of the two. I'll give you a classic case of Kamal Rami. It says if somebody shoots an arrow on Shabbos in a real Rishus Haram Daraisa, and the arrow flies 4 amas, so that's Chil Shabbos Daraisa, right? And in the middle, it goes through a bolt of silk. Yeah? The person, assuming that the person had proper warning and proper witnesses saw what he did, it's a capital offense, right? So, I mean, actually, Chayvim is shaken, it's a whole sugya, but let's just go on the classic case. Bezin is going to put the guy to death. He doesn't owe anything for the silk that he destroyed. He's a mazik. Why not? Destroy the guy's $500 bolt of silk. Doesn't matter. You're off the hook. But here, there's a mefurish ribui that you pay, and you don't get the more severe punishment. So I'm asking, is it ever possible to get that more severe punishment? Would it ever be possible to get malchus? What would be the case where you get malchus? Less than a shav proof. Right? Everything in the Torah is hashiur. Right? How much we eat to be over an isser or to fulfill a mitzvah is kazayis b'chdei achilas pras. It's a volume and it's an interval of time. Mammon also has a shir. So for something to count in terms of monetary value, the minimum has to be a shav proof. We've all attended weddings. All the Mesadrei Kedushin ask the Eidim, they show them the ring and say Shavapruta or not. You're making a kinyan now, you're about to make an acquisition. If it's not Shavapruta, it's not a legal marriage. Right? So the minimum shear in Mammon is a Shavapruta. It's hard to imagine a chayvel, a case of assault, where it wouldn't be a Shavapruta, but in point of fact, if it's less than a Shavapruta, then you would get malchus and you wouldn't pay. It's counterintuitive. For a tiny assault on a person, you're going to whip me. For a major assault on the person, you're only going to hit me in the pocketbook. But in point of fact, that's not law. Okay, so let's start on Amud Reish Mem Vav. Let's start the second paragraph from the bottom. Upashit. So the Minchas Chinuch says azay. Upashit. Da'afilu b'makon. She'en kol ha'chamisha dvarim k'mavur sham mikol malkem en like it. There are a lot of different combinations. When I say you have to pay 5 different kinds of things, that's the max, right? There could be situations where you humiliated the person, but you didn't cause them any physical pain. Or you caused them physical pain, but you didn't humiliate him. It could be that he's not going to have to miss any work, he'll go to work the next day. Right? You cut a person, he puts on a Band-Aid, but he's at work the next day. So the maximum types of payments could be 5. Let's say that there are fewer than that. Mikol Malkaman Laikin. Nevertheless, you would not get malchus. When we say beferish ribs l'tayr chayvel l'tashlumen, that a chayvel has got to pay, right? It means if a chayvel, if someone who commits assault, incurs any of the types of tashlumen, as long as he said before, as long as it's more than a shava pruta, you've got to pay, and that gets you off the hook for the malchus. So put the malchus. The gam pashut, another thing is pashut. He's just saying this from Svari. He doesn't feel like he has to provide a gemara for it, for a pasuk. Da'afil ein bedover echad shal chamisha dvarim shava pruta rak b'tziruf. Let's say, you give an adult a pinch in the bekala. That's not something you do to an adult. It's infantilizing the person. A little kid, you can give him a pinch in the bekala. But l'maisa, you're buddy with a guy. It's a loosey goosey kind of shul where you did it. It's not too embarrassing. Maybe it's slightly a tiny scintilla of embarrassment, right? Now let's say you squeeze them just a little bit too hard. So the pain, assuming that we had but they didn't, that could assess these things accurately, was the pain, that's a half a pruta. The humiliation, that's a half a pruta. Baruch Hashem. Between the pain and the humiliation that you render the other guy, you're off the hook from malchus. That's what the Chinuch is saying. It doesn't have to be that the humiliation alone is worth a shava pruta, or that the pain alone, or that the loss of wages alone is worth a shava pruta. Whatever combination of these five things that are present, as long as in the aggregate it's more a shava pruta, you're off the hook from the malchus.
Would one be mindful of the moment in order to make the guy get malchus?
Very interesting question. You want to wait about 5 minutes? We're going to get to it in the Minchas Chinuch. Excellent question. Okay. Okay. Next shtickle. The gam near a pashut. Another pashut azach is as follows: the b'mokav shloi haisa haka she'en chayv al b'shavos levad. Let's say it's not what we would call a chayv, an assault. It's not in the case of assault, but it's other things that could be one of these five things that a chayv could incur. Kegoin hadkei beindruna hainish sagre becheder ubatlu v'malachtei b'chay b'shavos. You knock a guy out, right? You bruise a guy. He's laid up in bed for 2 days. Okay, those are 2 days of wages. That would normally be Shavas. Let's say you don't touch the guy physically. You locked him. You're not kidnapping him. He's in his own house. You got the key to his house. You locked him in the house. Epizazal locked it. He can't get out from the inside. And he was stuck in his house for 2 days. So he incurred Shavas on your account. He incurred loss of wages, but there was no assault. You chayiv in that case or not? Or it's only a chayvel, a makkah, as we read in the parsha.
It wouldn't be a gram, right?
Well?
It wouldn't be a gram.
A grama?
Yeah.
You're doing it with kayach gavri. You're incarcerating him yourself. There's more than a grama. It's direct, but it's not with a hakah. It's not with a chayvel. Ki yinatzu anashim yachtav. That's the pasuk that we derive all of these dinim from. Yinatsu, it doesn't mean a verbal joust. It means they're wrestling with one another, they're fighting with one another. Okay. So, im loy haisa hashav shava pruta. Now I gave you a case where the guy was out of work for 2 days. Let's say he wasn't out of work for 2 days. Let's say he was out of work for 20 seconds. And he's not an endodontist. He's not some an opera singer. He's not an NBA star. He's not earning $10,000 a minute. All right. Okay, very good. If you only kept me under lock and key for 5 seconds, that's less than a shava pruta of lost wages. Now you're going to get malchus. Right? We have a very hard time configuring in our minds how is it ever shaykh to hit another person that he shouldn't have incurred a shava pruta. Here, I got a good case for you. I locked you. You had a half an hour lunch break, right? And you had to clock in back in the office at 1:30 on the dot. And because I kept you on the lock and key for 5 seconds, you came 5 seconds late for work. They're not going to dock you any pay at all. They could, but it's too inconsequential. They don't carry the decimal points that far. It's less than a shava pruta. Will the person get malchus or not? Will Reuven, who locked up Shimon, get malchus?
Is there a issue for allowing out up somebody?
What?
Is there an issur for locking up somebody?
We're not learning right now the mitzvah of the Isser. We're learning the mitzvah of the monetary payments. Who says there has to be an Isser? If there wouldn't be Lo Yosef, Bal Taisef in the Torah, if it wouldn't be Usser, Al Isser the Heter, to hit another person, that'd still be this mitzvah, Ki Yinatz Anashim Yachtav, that you got to pay. Right now we're looking at the monetary angle.
Right, so you don't pay.
What?
You don't pay.
So you're saying that there's no Isser either. There's no Isser to lock up a person.
I mean, there's no law.
Right? No law to everyone agree with that? Can anyone think of any law that would be involved in locking up another person?
He's not hitting them.
What? It's not hitting him. Okay, very good. As I state in Minchat Chinuch also. Ain't liken. You would not get malchus.
You line somebody up against his will. You could do that.
It's not a law.
Show me the Isser. Can you think off the top of your head of a law in the Torah that says you can't? What? V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. What? Right? That's what?
It's not considered kidnapping.
Very good. Okay, the loisignav that says nasas adibris doesn't mean mammon. Loisignav is going of the fashis. Yeah, but the going of the fashis nasas adibris. First of all, it's not malchus either. That's capital. But loisignav that says nasas adibris is when you sell them into slavery afterwards. You make him your own slave. And it's not just the incarceration. Besides which, it's a dubious point of if you lock the guy up for 20 seconds, if that would even be the kidnapping part. Yeah. So you want to say al tzvah lo yachamacha, so you answered that's not fair. It's not law. You're not going to get malchus for that. Right? Even if you want to say, can you quantify, exactly v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, or it's a nebulous thing that's very subjective. Always, my day job is I work for a Kira Center in Queens. So, hard textual learning like this is not generally what I do, but I have a class I always give that titled "Love Thyself as Thy Neighbor." The first side of interpersonal relationships is good self-esteem. Right? I always ask. I start the class with a question. I say, if you're an anorexic, right, and you have guests over for dinner, should you serve them a 12-inch plate with one pea on it? Because that's what that's how you would want to be treated too. You're a sick person. You have a bad relationship with yourself. How can you possibly treat the other person the way they want to be treated? Right? So but it's generally speaking that nobody wants to be under lock and key. Everybody would like freedom of movement. It's safe to say that it is an avera of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. But like he said, it's not a law.
A case of a bounty of somebody that was businesswoman, right?
Right.
And it was Shabbos. And you locked them in the house. Is there any tzedel?
That's a good one. I don't know.
And if there is, then for 5 seconds you got tzedel, which was Minchat Shabbos, but you didn't. Right.
It's okay. Very, very interesting question. He wants to one of the lamates malachas on Shabbos is hatzad, right? Yeah. If a deer wanders into your house and then you close the door in a way that the deer can't get out. That's called Shabbos Daraisa. So, the hunting and trapping is forbidden on Shabbos. He wants to know if it goes on a human being, only on a Balchai. Yeah. And if it does, so then we come like the Rabbi for Shabbos. There's certainly no monetary payment. He's going the other way around. He's talking about where the Shevis for locking the guy up is less than a Shavah Pruta.
Yeah,
he wants to know if you be Chayv and a Malchus.
As far as the example of not being able to lock somebody.
Right. You want to come up with a law when an Isser.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Shomer Shabbos L'Kasha. It's the generic law against Chol Shabbos. Okay.
Or Tzedek if it applies.
Yeah, it's very interesting to Shaila. Yeah, I don't know if on a Bal Bechira you can call that atzad. A human being. You lock the door, will climb out the window. I don't know if that's called. It's brought in Chayas. So if you close one door but they have another door to get out of.
Either,
what?
Then it's not Shabbos either. You can get out.
Okay, very good. Okay, you got me. All right. So, the Minchat Chinuch, Menachem, you want a page? Here. Here. Go ahead. Now, okay. So, all right. So let me start. Since some people walked in late, let me just read that again. We're in the lower right-hand corner on Reish Mem Vav, the Bramaskal V'Gam. V'Gam near Pashat. The B'Makom Shlo Yais Hakah She'en Chayav Elo B'Shavos Levad. in a case where there was no actual striking, hitting of another person, but you did incur Shabbos, Kagoin, Hake B'indruna, Hainu, Shasaga B'cheder, you lock the person in a room, you mevatl him from his work, so you chai for Shabbos in that case. Im loy haisa Shabbos shavapruta, even if this loss of wages was less than a shavapruta, mikam okaman loiken. Ki alav de loy Yosef eina ella al hakah. You're mechaven. The lav is only for an actual hakah. Loy Yosef lakaisa alela pen Yosef lakaisa alela makarab. It's talking about malchus. It's talking about you were whipping a guy. Don't do more than what he deserves. That's the makar for the issur, for the criminal, for the avera aspect of assault. So if there's no assault involved, it's not the lav. So it's not going to be malchus either. V'akol nilman mikroy b'shas v'v'kama p'ema beis.
Sometimes when you just raise your hand, Moshe says doesn't hear him. Almost not just by raising his hand.
So by the upraised hand, that was already a hakah. So you see that you didn't have to strike him. Very interesting. It's a very good kasha. Everyone hear what he asked?
No, there's no
Is that-
chayvul. There's no chayvul.
What?
There's no chayvul then.
No, but he's saying that the Minchat Chinuch's taina, is that it can't be called hakah, right? Unless when a rubber meets the road, flesh has to meet flesh. You have to actually hit somebody. All right, if you don't hit somebody, then it's not included in the law of Baltaisa. Baltaisa, contextually, Baltaisa is talking about. Let me read the actual pasuk. I'll read it to you. You'll understand what he's saying about it.
It's not the intent to hit somebody?
No, it's.
I mean, they're raising the hand with the intent.
You were trying to say a territory.
Yeah.
Okay, you're getting ahead of us. Let's first let me read you, if I can find it. There are about 300 mitzvahs in Parshat Kisei. So let me see if I can remember what the pasuk is. Valid. Yeah, okay. So the pasuk is there's a dvarim chafei pasuk beis and gilul. Why in bin hakais Russia? If the criminal, if the avarian was somebody who's chayiv malchus, where the Gemara learns out from smichus and what kind of averis we get malchus for. The pilu hashayv v'yikol lefonav. The shayvit should make him fall down and he'll strike him. Kedei rishasa v'misbar, according to his rishas, a specific number. And parenthetically, these are the words. Kedei rishasa is where we learn out. There's no double jeopardy. So next pasuk says, "Arbaim yakenu lo Yosef." You hit him 40 times. Don't add on to that. Pen Yosef lo Yosef lo makarabu. Okay, so those words lo Yosef upon the 40. So that's going in referencing to Arbaim yakenu. So the Minchat Chinuch is saying, if you don't actually hit him, it can't be his love. So you're timing that Moshe Rabbeinu said in this week's parsha. This is why we're learning this mitzvah tonight, even though it's in Parshas Mishpatim. Moshe Rabbeinu says in this week's parsha to Dasan Avirim, Rosh Shalom Asakar Yacha, only the Rashi. The Rashi says that he hadn't actually hit him yet. He just had his hand upraised. Yeah? So you're saying, how do you know that in the Lashon HaMikra, when the Torah used the word Makeh, how do you know that actually means physically striking the person? If you're attempting to hit the person, that's also hakah. So what did you want to say?
I'm saying you have to do it with the intent. In other words, you lifted your hand with the intent to hit the person. Not that you
Mashenka, in the case of the Minchat Chinuch, all you intended to do was to lock him up.
Yeah, you never started with anything.
What? Satisfied with that?
No.
Okay. If I wasn't nicht. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, the emes is that I don't know if it's emeshivim min hadrush or if that midrash is chalukas. Is it in the panim of pshat or in the panim of drush? This chazal that he only had his hand upraised. But either way, in the context of the lav, yeah, it's coming after the mitzvah of the shliach bezin, shliach tzibur bezin to mete out malchus to those who mechuyev malchus. So over there, when it says abam yakanu, you're not going to say, "Oh, I raised the whip. It's okay. Kamishonai famine." Right? In the mitzvah of malchus, you got to give him the klep that he can endure. Well, I mean, the Gemara Malchus says there's a doctor standing there, and he has to be shlishiyos. He has to assess how many sets of threes the guy can take, up to 39, right? But you can't tell me the context of this pasuk that the Arba'im Yakanu, if the Arba'im Yakanu can mean just upraising a hand, then you could say the lav of Lo Yosef, also goes on an upraised hand. But clearly, in the context of this pasuk, a klop means an actual makkah, not just an upraised hand. That's the best teretz I can think of off the top of my head. Mikol Mokim, Eina Over B'Lo Yosef, the Eina Hakah. You're not over on this lav, his hypothetical case of incarceration, because that's not Hakah. V'halav Hazeh Gabi Hakah Ksiv. This lav is written dafka by an actual hitting of the person. In Kain, I feel a pocket mishar pruta and like in Kain, they're only pashut. As I come memorized from my svara, that if you locked up a person and it caused shavas, it caused a loss of wages, but an infinitesimal loss of wages, less than a shar pruta, you still won't get malchus. You hit a person, and the pain or whatever one of the other 5 dimensions of a chayvul was less than a shar pruta, you will get malchus. But if you just lock a person up, you will not get malchus. Okay, now you were talking before, who asked before about if he gave him reshus because he's trying to entrap him, he'd rather see the guy get malchus than the crummy 1 or 2 prutas that he's going to give him, right? Okay, that's the next shtickle. All right, the left-hand column now, the top of the page. The gam nearly. Those of you here last week, forgive me, because we had this in Makov Avimai also, this Chinuch and the Minchas Chinuch. The gam nearly. The imnasan lai reshus lachbel boy. You Rambam kam perkei loch yid aleph b'shulchan aruch siman tav chaf aleph siman yubeis lin tashlumin yesh deis. Okay, let's say Shimon says to Reuven, hit me with your best shot, dismember me, cut off a tip of my finger. Yeah? Van Gogh, a Yiddish Van Gogh. I don't have the guts to cut off my own ear. You cut off my ear for me. All right? What's the din in such a case? Can you give reshus? Normally in Mamonis, you can be Michael. Can you be Michael on such things? There's Deis in the Gemara, there's Deis in Paiskim. Right? Yesh. There are those that are Mechayev and there are those that Pater. I'm going to read you a Rambam in a minute. It's not so posh what he's about to say. Nasan le reshus near pasha deina oivable avzeh. He's saying a chiddush. He said this last week by Makav V'imai also. If parents give reshus to their children to hit them, then there's no. That's a capital offense already. You hit another Jew in a lesson of Shabruta, that's an Issa Malchus. You hit your own parents in a way that's Maitzidam, it's got to be either bruising or bleeding, right? Then that's already a capital offense. One human being has the right, with a word, to take off a capital offense from another human being. If a father or mother give reshus to the children, cut me so that I should bleed, according to the Minchas Chinuch, they're off the hook, and he says that's true by Stam. Doesn't have to be parental relationship. Stam Reuven and Shimon. If Shimon says to Reuven, cut me, strike me, hit me, whatever, the monetary issue is a separate issue. But the criminal issue, the Isser, the Aveira, if I'm Michael you, before the fact, I give you reshus to hit me, to strike me, to cut me before you do it, you're not over the Isser. There could be Adam standing there warning you not to do it, you're not over the Isser. It's a Ma'ir Chiddush, and he just...
This is a Bein Adam L'Makam.
What?
It's Bein Adam L'Makam.
Harem in it. I want to read you a Rambam. Okay?
Guy's not over with Neiva.
Pardon me?
The guy who gave the reshus, isn't he over with Neiva?
Well, it's a catch-22. If you hold that one person is the balabas on his own chavala, so Yen is not being over the Issa.
Who said a person's balabas in the chavala?
Not me, the Minchas Chinuch. It's a half with the Chiddush. I want you to hear Lashon Rambam. What? Exactly. For those not familiar, I want to read the Rambam. This is the Rambam in the Hilchos Chayvul Mazik, Perik Hey Halacha Aleph. Also la'adam lachbol bein ba'atzmai ben b'chaver. Yeah, you have no right. You have no right to commit suicide. You have no right to commit dismemberment. You can't even. You can't cut yourself. You can't hurt yourself. You can't dismember yourself. Listen, if it's bikuach nefesh, if you're a rock climber and if you don't amputate your arm, you're going to die. Such a mice happened a couple of years ago. A person saved his own life by amputating an arm and applying a tourniquet. Okay, but stamazay to dismember yourself, or to hit yourself, or to cut yourself. Also, law them lachbel ben batzim chaver. V'lay achayvel belvad. Doesn't have to be an actual, by chavala he means, like a permanent injury. Alakala maka adam kashim yisrael, ben katan, ben gadol, ben ish, ben isha. Derech nitzayin ki yinotzu anashim yachtav. Hareza over b'lay sasa, shenem b'lay yaisav, l'akaisai. Im is hira tyra m'lo haisav akas achayta, kal v'chayim l'makas atzanik. That's what I told you before. That I don't think there's a true kal v'chayim, it is what we call subsumed. It's, because if you're going to learn it's a real kal v'chayim, you have a problem with Ein Shim Adin. So I have no idea where the Minchas Chinuch is coming from. It's Mefurish and Rambam and other Paiskim, that the Isser of Bal Taisif goes on the Chayvel Ba'atzmai. If I can't be Chayvel myself, how can I give you Rishus to be Chayvel with me? And that you shouldn't be everyone out there? So, I don't know what he does with this Rambam. But you understand it? But it's not Lifnei. If the Minchas Chinuch is right, and he doesn't bring a Pasuk or Gemara or any Paiskim to support him, he just seems to be saying this Mitzva delay, right? But in Kanem Advarim, if he's right, then the Lifnei would not be a problem. Again, it's a catch-22. If you can't be Chayvel B'atzmach, I can give Rishus to others. So now, getting back to your Shiloh, so it's fakert. We're working with the Minchas Chinuch tonight. Within the Minchas Chinuch's Hairais over here, if Shimon gave Reuven Rishus to hit him, Almanas, because I'm trying, I don't need his money, but I want to see him suffer. I want to see him get Malchus. It's 180 degrees for fakert. Malchus you're not going to get, because once you give him Rishus, we can't give him Malchus anymore. He may have to pay up. That's already a machlok. The Ram Paskins that you can't give Rishus. It doesn't matter. It does matter, I should say. It makes a difference you give Rishus for somebody to be mazik your guf or to be mazik your mum. If it says Kra Shirayim Shali, then Amanas Liftar, and he says it that way, then the Ram Paskins that you part from Tashlumim.
But if he gives him Rishus, then he doesn't want the money, right?
Pardon me?
If he gives him Rishus, then what should we force him to take the money? I mean, he gives him Rishus, he doesn't want the money. What's the shot? You give him Rishus? Says he changed his mind.
The nafkamina would be, and this also gets complex because it's very complicated in the Ram. I hope we're going to get to it if we still have time tonight. Which of these are knossos and which of these are mammon? Okay? So let's say a guy would be my Reuven would be my that he was chayvel and shimon, right? So is Bezdin and Mashkin if after Bezdin Paskin that he's chayav, he says I'm moichel you the tashlumin, I think that's a separate shiloh than to say before the fact go ahead and hit me and you'll be bought from the tashlumin. Guy can be moichel, guy can be mafkin in the chazav also. But if it's coming to him, right. His nafkamina could also be if the nechbol died in between and now it's for the yashim, now it's for the estate. So if he's chayiv, alpi mishpat atayra. So the fact that he gave you rishus to hit me, but that shouldn't affect my yerusha. Right? Okay.
What? Don't give a case of rishus.
Right.
I didn't give rishus. He hit me.
Right.
And there was
A maki shesh b'shah pruta, pachs b'shah pruta.
more than a shavu purpose.
Okay.
Two purpose.
Okay.
But I'm waiting for the two purpose because I wanted to get the malchus.
When were you Michael? Before he hit or after he hit? After he hit, how's he going to be chayav and malchus? Who could be master him b'shas tachavala? For every kind of malchus, you need asra, right? What did the Edom say to him? Don't hit him. If you hit him, it says lo Yosef in the Torah, you're going to get malchus for hitting him. You think I'm hitting a lesser shah pruta? As Meshach Chaz is also written, I'm going to hit him. He'll be in bed for 3 days. I'm not hitting him a maki shein b'shah pruta. What are they going to say? Oh, maybe he'll be Michael you. That's Rosh Suffolk.
So what if in that case he was warned, and there were
Mm.
witnesses.
Right.
He hit him, and then after that,
Right.
the victim says, "No, I don't want the."
That's exactly what he
Right.
just asked right now.
So,
So what's the din in that case?
yeah.
So
What
what
he
were
done.
what were the Aiden warning him before the
They told
assault?
him, right, B'shas Ma'aseh,
Yeah.
you know, I want you to know that you're going to hit me,
Right.
and I'm going to be moichel, so you're going to get malchus. And the Aiden gave him a hasra.
Okay, but what I'm trying to tell you, what the Minchas Chinuch is quoting over here is
It's not a hasra,
that
it's
you want to know, like the Paiskim say you could be Michael, or let the Paiskim say you can't be Michael. It's a machlokes a Paiskim, it's a machlokes in Gemara, it's a machlokes a Paiskim. If on the moment you could be Michael, the Minchas Chinuch is coming up with this big chiddush. Then the Aveira you could be Michael. On the Isra Beheta you could be Michael. The Rambam paskins that even if the Nechbal says hit me, cut me, you're still chayiv. It's a non-effective mechila. Let me.
Does the Rambam say that?
What? Yeah,
The Rambam
yeah.
says-
Let me.
The Rambam says on himself, right?
One
Rambam
second.
says it
One
can be
second.
Michael.
One second. I have to find this halacha Rambam. Just a second. Perak Hey halacha Yud Aleph. A minute. Okay. This is the same Perak halacha Yud Aleph. This is the Rambam I'm reading from. V'ayesh hefresh ben niskei gufay l'niskei m'maynet. There's another difference between if you damage a person's body or if you damage a person's property. Sha'ayim l'chavere, sama es eini, k'tas yadi, blind my eye, cut off my hand, amanas at the potter. I'm telling amanas, you'll be potter. Okay? Harei zechai b'chamisha dvarim. Yechayiv and all these, all the five things. Nezak tzar rip b'shavas b'bayis. Why? Sha'adavi yadua she'ein adam writes bekach. Okay? It's an umdana, it's a non-sadi that this mechila is not a real mechila. Nobody wants to be dismembered. Aval ha'imel chavere, kras ksusi, shaver es kadi, amanash at the potter, erez a potter. The guy says, I want you to rip my clothing, or to smash my kalim, my vessels. So if it's damages, if it's property damages, not personal damages, then mechila helps. Mechila does not, at least this is the way the Rambam paskins. Machlokes HaPaskin. So, so are you asking according to the Rambam, or are you asking according to the other Paskin? According to the Rambam, it doesn't work. You can't manipulate the guy to end up getting Malchus because you're absolving him and he want to owe you a Shavuot Pruta. It doesn't work. You give him Mechila from the Heim Bismargen, he's still going to be Chayiv B'Tashlum. He's Chayiv B'Tashlum to bothers him for the Malchus. But you're asking like the Paskin that say that you could be Michael. Could a guy be Michael in the first place in a way that you should get Malchus? Just give me 1 second. I think the Minchas Chinuch said something ähnlich to this in Mitzva Memches that we learned last week. What was the case? Do you remember from last week? What was the case with hitting your parents? That you end up being Chayav Malchus even if it's worth more than a Shavuot Pruta when I gave you permission, right? Hold on half a second. This is Reish Mem Vav, Reish Mem Zayin. I'm not remembering 100%. He has a shlikel araya from a lashon and a Rambam by klala that mechila for klala helps, right? He says hu adin for makkah, and then he says it by makkah avimay too. Av kshnoz rishus mechila lekal en kan aver klal v'chen gabi makkah. Yesh klas aver the mighty shem shemalu atal you. Okay, av gabi makkah en kan aver klal v'chaver v'lo bavem. And I'm right, the Lord Shavkul, Hanul Dum Yasachol Shalol Tzarech. I love Michael Mitzvah like I said near the Chayav Klal.
The parents gave permission, but it was less than Shavuot Pruta.
No, we had a case last week. We had a case last week that it was more than a Shavuot Pruta, more than a shava pruta, but
because there was a moment.
more than a shava pruta. Malchus. More shava pruta. Right. Okay, that was it. More than a shava pruta. So come with the ramen. Yeah, we had a case last week like this. By makal v'imay, where it's chavel, where it's maitzidam, where you either cause the parent to bleed or to bruise, so then it's already a capital offense. It's not malchus anymore; it's misa. Right. So what happens in a case where the av tells the ben? No, not tells the ben. By chayv misa shaygigen. Okay. Where the person hit somebody, they come up with a case of shaygig. He didn't know it was his father. He forgot it was his father. Christ was. All right. So chayv is a shaygig. We paskin. They still come with the rabbi. You don't need the actual that Bezdin has to carry out the sentence to part you from the lesser thing. All right. So there, the Minchat Chinuch said that by chayv misa shaygig, if you were a shaygig in makal v'imay, so the chiyuv misa for the makal v'imay, that part is you from the tashlum. Now this what the Gemara says. Beferish ribs t'ayr chayvel tashlum, and that's where the other thing is just a lav of bal taisif, where it's only a malchus. But where it's a misa that you incur by chayvel, then you part it. Right? If you be chayvel on somebody on Shabbos, you chayv misa al tzchil Shabbos, you might see dam from somebody on Shabbos. So then you part it from the tashlum. It's come like ramina. So if you makav v'imay b'shaygig. So even if the tashlum was more than a shava pruta, so you're off the hook for the shava pruta, and they were master by the malchus. They gave masra for malchus, but not for misa. I think that was it.
Because they know him Mishaman. So
Right.
once he's off the malchus.
Right.
Right.
No. What the Minchat Chinuch Tudayf, the big chiddush, we said it's a good trivia question, right? What he Tudayf is that even if the hakah was chayv more than a shav pruta, if it's assessed for more than a shav pruta, this would be a case where you would get malchus.
You would get malchus.
They were master by la malchus. They weren't master by la misa. So, that was the thing. Not that you didn't know who your father was. You were master by la malchus. So he was unaware that hitting your father or your mother was a capital offense. So lagabi the chi of misa, it's chayv misa shaygigen. That patters from the tashlumen. Once there's more tashlumen, and they gave masra for malchus, so we'll get malchus. Okay, so. I lost the thread. What did you ask I was bringing this in for? What was your last kasha? You remember anyone? What the last kasha was? I'm losing the thread here a little bit.
Seeing if
Yeah.
for the hakah.
Right. Oh yeah. You want to come up with a case where you can manipulate it into where the guy would get malchus because you're being Michael on the tashlum. Okay. So now, so in Shav B'Shav Reyacha, one Jew to another Jew. So I tell you right, like the Rambam, it's not going to work out. Let's see, could it work out like what the Minchat Chinuch said? Could it work out by Hakas Av V'Eim? Could the Av V'Eim manipulate things that the kid should get malchus rather than having to pay?
In that case, the reason he doesn't get malchus is because he's chayv misa.
No, he would. What the Minchat Chinuch says, he would get malchus. The Adam made a mistake. The Adam should have been master by saying, "Listen, if you hit your father, you're going to be chayv misa." They didn't say that. They said, "If you hit your father, you're going to be chayv malchus." Right?
But the real chiyuv there.
The real chiyuv is misa. Chayv misa shaygigen. There's still a din of common rabbi in that. Legabi, the chiyuv misa, he's a shaygig. He doesn't know that you get misa for this avera. Right, but it doesn't matter. Even if Bezdin is not going to put him to death, the fact that the thing is a capital offense will pater him for tashlum. There's no tashlum. There's no reason for him not to get malchus. No problem with Kedei Shlosa. He will get malchus, even if that call was more than a shavu pruta. Right. Okay. Let me get a bissel weiter. Okay, this is an interesting chakira that he has. What would you say? He already said that incarceration is not hakah, is not assault. Right. What about rape? Is rape assault? Does it make a difference if the victim is a basula or not? Huh?
Basula, there's a chabura.
It's a chabura. So by basula there's a chabura. Let's say not by basula. Is there always a chabura? So the woman's not such a big fighter. She puts up very, very passive resistance. Definitely, Ines, she wasn't masking to the beer, but she puts up very passive resistance. Is it for sure a makkah? Huh?
Why not? If I push you, it's still a hakah.
Any dissenting opinions? Anyone want to take the position that it's not a hakah? I mean, he makes it into a big hakira. To me, it seems very pashut. I mean, where you're talking about incurring the 5 tashlumin, without an actual physical contact on another person's body. Come and Claren, okay? But Torah says, Bal Taisif on a makkah, that's a makkah. Where I incarcerate you, it's a makkah. Where I spit at you and the spit doesn't reach your body, it's a makkah. Verbal abuse, that's a makkah. But makkah, if you struck somebody violently, with your reproductive organ, mali if you hit somebody with your hand, mali if you hit somebody with your foot, if you elbow somebody, it's less of an assault. I don't really get the big hakir, but let's read it inside. Okay. The next one, the Medibra Masal L'chaim. L'chaim b'ma'anes b'sula. Mechayve Krista, Mechayve Lavin. Okay, he's still working with his Kamla B'Ramane over here. Let's say the person that you were ma'anes was somebody who was usher to you mitam karis, or from the Chayve Lavin. The Kasavna La'el, the Paskinen, the Hisrabai, and a Chayiv Mammon Klal. If you're a master the person for Malchus, so then you're not Chayiv Mammon. Normally a Ma'anis Basula is Chayiv in Knas and in Pagam and in Baishas. Right? Ein Shamay Sheikh Shinu al Zeh, Avol Hachi Hilchasa, that is the halacha, that you're not Chayiv any Mammon. In that case, it's different than the other case of assault where we say Beferish Rib Satira Chayvel Tashlumen. Over here you get the Malchus and you wouldn't get the Tashlumen. Imkan L'chayrim Hisru by Gam Mishum Lav the Lo Yosef L'chayr Yilka Mishum Lav Zeh Gamken Davalei Chayvel. Okay, so he's saying let me just tell you how he's transitioning over here. Okay, a person Chalila, we're talking about a rapist over here, is Baal HaChaisei. Person has assaulted his own sister. Right? It's in Issachar. Person assaulted an Arusa, Nara Amurasa, an Eshet. She's a married woman already. It's a Chiyav Misa and Bezdin. Right? So over there, there's issues of Kamla B'Rabim Minay. And he said earlier in Eis Aleph that in those cases you would say, well, but look, you're a Chayvel, and the Farish Rib Sotara Chayvel Tashlumen. No, you wouldn't have to pay in those cases. You get the greater penalty and you'd be off the hook for the monetary restitution. So he's saying if that's true, what? Yes. I mean the Knas not as good. That's a Mishnah Ksubas. But what he's saying over here, what he wants to be Mechayish is over here. Now let's say you're a stranger to the victim. The rapist and the victim are strangers. They don't know each other at all. Right? But it's a kind of chavol, it's a kind of an assault. It's a chayvel b'chaver. Mali that you're chayvel if you hit, like I said before, you kick the person with your foot, or you elbow the person, you strike them with a closed fist, with an open hand. It's a physical assault. Body on body assault. Right? So let's say the Adam wouldn't say, hey, don't do this. What you're about to do is the Isra of Arayas, of living with your sister. Let's say the Adam give him Hasra, don't do this. It says in the Torah, there's a kind of a makkah, there's a kind of striking another person. And if you do this, there's a criminal aspect to it. Forget about, for a moment, the Knas and the Pagam and the Baishas. It's an Avera, Lysaisiv. Zok the Minchat Chinuch, Im Kain L'chayrim Hisru by Gam Mishum Lav the Yosef. If there were Masra, the person, that he's going to be over on the Lav about Taisif, L'chayri Yilka Mishum Lav Zeh Gamken, Davalei Chayvel. This is also kind of Chavala. And if Einis is an exception to the rule, that over here you say, you give him the more severe of the punishments, and that gets him off the hook for the Tashlumen, so he's saying over here, there's a kind of a Chayvel, and he'd be Chayv. Ach be'emes nira, the Lav Zeh B'hakah Dafka. It's got to be a Hakah. Hesta Maisa. He's entertaining a possibility that a rape is not a Hakah. It's not a Hakah. The woman's rutzin or lack of rutzin is beside the point. Okay? The definition of this act is not that you struck somebody. No, it's not equivalent. It's not the same thing as hitting a person or kicking a person or elbowing a person. Conjugal relations is not chavala. You call it in England, in American jurisprudence, you call it assault and battery. He's not so sure. He's not convinced that this is an Indian of a hakah.
What is
What is he calling
it?
What?
So what is it then? It's not that.
It's incarceration. It's an avla that you did to another person, but it doesn't meet the threshold of hakah. You didn't hit the other person.
So it's on the level of locking the person up?
Now, see, I don't see how this is possible. Again, when the victim is a basula, yeah, when the victim is a basula, yeah, and there's bleeding involved, how can that not be a hakah? Right? So I'm not 100% sure what he's talking about. He's talking about by a ba'ula over here. He's talking about a girl who's not a basula anymore. But he's being. He doesn't say the words that it's on the level of incarceration. I'm just being Madama Milsa. Before he said that if you locked somebody up and the shevis and the loss of wages was less than a shava pruta, right? You still wouldn't get malchus because l'maisa it doesn't satisfy the lashon hatar of hakah, right? So he wants to be mitzaded over here that maybe a ma'anis is not a makkah. And we call malchus iyon ba'anis. The lav the chavala vaday lav dafka biyad who had din deizaver. Okay, now he's talking what seems more sensible to us, right? When the Torah says makkah, good, it doesn't mean incarceration, but it also doesn't dafka mean that you whipped him like it says over here. Yeah, the actual case of the Torah, the makkah over here is that you hit him with an instrument. You're not hitting him with your bare hands. Is anybody going to say, oh, listen, in the Torah we're talking about malchus, you're hitting the guy with a calfskin strap, right? So therefore, anything that's less than that, anything that doesn't involve a whip, is not going to be this lav of Baltais. Of course not. A makkah is a makkah. A makkah means when he strikes somebody physically, right? So I'm saying it makes no difference if it's your hand or if it's your leg or if it's your elbow. It makes no difference if it's your reproductive organ. That's also you will makkah the person. Right? The lav the chavel vane lav dafka biyad. Who had them be'ezaver? Any aver that you use to strike another person to get physically violent with another person is hakah. Im kain b'ma'anis basula lo meina lo'eva b'lav zeh. When you're ma'anis a basula, you certainly should logically. You're over on this lav, right? Im kain efshad over. You would be over. Im kain heicha de potter mit tashlumen machmas lav acher. Wherever you'd be potter from tashlumen because of another lav. The paiter, yeah, like for instance, your sister, a married woman, as avaiter, like a mishum lav, the chavala gam ken in history by mishum lav zeh, right? So he's being mitzaded the possibility that if the Adam said by ma'anis nara bzul, right, that was one of the arayas. The guy's being ma'anis a sister, the guy's being ma'anis a married woman, and they say, don't do this, you'll get malchus if you do this, right? So Taka got malchus. Because the more chamadik lav, the karis, or the einish mizbez, is similar to the case that we had with Makav Avimai. The more chamadik iser, patism from the tashlumen. If they're pater from the tashlumen, there's no problem with kadei rishasi for the malchus. So malchus you'll get for Lo Yosef. But again, that's all only true if a forcible act of bia is called a hakah. He had it side that's not called a hakah. Then he says, no, what's the difference? You hit with the leg, you hit with the hand. No nafka mina. Okay, we have a minyan for Mara.